You are listening to the author's article, Shaant.
We all carry ghosts with us. They don't wear chains or float through walls. They wear smiles, nod at meetings, hold tears in during commutes, and burst out laughing over dinners with friends. For years, I considered these ghosts just idiosyncrasies attributed to my personality. Until one day, a close friend said to me, "That's not an idiosyncrasy, that's trauma." It smacked me like a truck. I was not being just a little awkward. I was not a perfectionist or too sensitive. I am a 30-year-old Indian man who had been educated in the US and returned home carrying a backpack of unprocessed memories, unarticulated fears, and tightly bound anxiety. The ghost was me. I needed a lot of everything to come to terms with it. I thought I was just lazy, but it turns out my brain was just trying to survive. My parents always said I was lazy growing up. Every day I'd go home from school completely beat and emotional, throw myself on the bed, and say homework. Tomorrow. Chores? Excuses. I truly thought I was just bad at life. By my 20s, this evolved into full-blown burnout as soon as I started any new job. I once didn't go into work for a whole week, so depressed I couldn't get out of bed. But I told my boss I had flu. It never crossed my mind that it was anything else, until one of my friends, who was a psychologist, sat me down and said, "This isn't laziness, bruh, it's executive dysfunction." She was right. My brain was empty, avoiding difficult stuff because it just didn't care. It was working to protect itself from drowning. I was married to survival mode, and had taken on the role of a functioning adult. My friend Nikhil has a similar story. He is only the most high-functioning guy I have ever met. Always on time helping others, always independent. But he later confided that he hadn't asked anybody for help in 10 years, because he really believed it would burden them. One night after he dislocated his shoulder moving furniture by himself, he undoubtedly didn't call an ambulance. I woke up thinking, if I ever bothered someone, he said, they would hate me. That wasn't independence. That was hyper-independence that arose from trauma. But he wore it like a badge of honor. How many of us do the same? I didn't know zoning out and overthinking everything could mean I wasn't. Okay, inside, I used to practice conversations in my head. Not because I wanted to, but because I was so scared I'd say the wrong thing and someone would realize how off I was. I'd relive inconsequential things. Maybe bumping someone's shoulder or making a call they didn't respond to, because I used a silly emoji so many times that they would keep me up at night. A professor once gave me a B+ while I was doing my master's in the US. I didn't sleep for 2 days, and I cried in the shower. Not because I was disappointed, but because my entire worth of sacrificing sleep and studying doing part-time jobs in the gas station felt crushed. I thought I was just driven. Turned out, I was anxious. Once, my roommate found me mid-sentence, eyes glazed, mouth open. "You there?" he asked. "Primera, gua SNT." I had dissociated. It wasn't until many years later, after I got back to India and was seeing a therapist as a result of the pandemic, that I realized going away mentally was not normal. I thought everyone did that as a way to escape. But, as it turns out, not many people feel like they routinely watch themselves live life from behind a screen. My cousin RT smiled through all of it, at the wedding. She was glowing but later told me she had been mentally recreating her escape route the whole time, determining the best opportunity to bolt if the panic became unsustainable. We are always in the presence of high-functioning survivors. They never yell. They do not crumble. They smile and dissociate. I used to joke about my quirks, until I realized they were quiet cries for help. In college, I would self-deprecate my penchant of talking aloud to myself. I'd even role-play entire arguments in front of my mirror, pacing around the room at times or using hand gestures like I was some TED speaker. When I'd share this with friends, they'd laugh. I just thought I was quirky. One day, I shared my seemingly concern with my mother. Her grin went deadpan. "I used to do that," she said, softly. I stopped. After one day, I heard a voice that wasn't mine. I guess it's in the blood. I once had a coworker who told he hated socials, so much that he left our teams off-site to sit in his car to avoid the event. Later, I found him shaking. I thought my heart would blow up, and everyone would watch me die. He was a poor sport, with panic disorder. Another friend confessed to me that she used to think about death. Say, sa, e. I was in class and thought, I'll write this essay, or I'll just not be alive tomorrow. I never planned it, but it was always an option. That wasn't typical, either. The scary part. These stories aren't an anomaly. They are everywhere. And we call it moodiness. Shy, overthinking, quirky, too sensitive, lazy, awkward, a perfectionist. What we are really doing is surviving without help. You can look fine on the outside and still be silently falling apart inside. One of the most perilous lies we tell ourselves is that if we're not actively dying, we must be fine. But mental illness does not always yell. Sometimes it just whispers. It whispers when you cancel plans because you feel too weird to be around people. It whispers when you rewrote a text 5 times because you think you sound annoying. It whispers when you put everyone else's needs ahead of yourself, so you don't feel like a burden. I've seen it in people who can't clean their rooms, but can create multiple spreadsheets with little effort. I've seen it in friends that hibernate under blankets for 17 hours of sleep just to escape the noise in their heads. I've seen it in people who snap at others, not out of frustration, but because their nervous systems are totally fried. I've noticed it in myself as well, how I could say I was resilient just as easily when I was really numb. How I saw things as a competition, a performance, a test. How I smiled when I wanted to vanish. Mental illness isn't just depression, or anxiety, or bipolar disorder. It is the thousands of micro-adaptations we make to live in a world that has never even considered making space for us to simply feel. It's time we talk about the ghosts we've been quietly carrying. For a long time, I assumed I was just bad at being human. Now I understand I was human in the most pure, struggling kind of way. So if any of this resonates with you, here's what I want you to know. You are not alone, you are not broken, and most importantly, you are not just being dramatic. Talk to someone. Start therapy. Write in a journal. Get outside for a walk. Rest. Oske for hell. Name the ghost. The world doesn't need more high-function survivors. It needs more whole, healed people. The majority of what we refer to as normal is essentially individuals quietly enduring mental illness. If this article resonated with you, share it. Please comment below. What's something you thought once was just a quirk but later learned was much deeper? Let's talk about the ghosts. Let's bring the ghosts into the light. The silence is no longer serving us.